Where did those buckets and barrels come from?
The One Piece awaits, a treasure untold. Boundless possibilities, stories unfold. Knocks and cheers as Luffy sets sail into the unknown where legends prevail. The grand line calls a place of wonder. Adventure awaits, lightning and thunder. I am not
Hey everyone, how's it going? Noxidar here, and welcome to the next reaction of One Piece. Today, we're starting with episode 103. I'm actually really excited because this is the first time that I will be watching the One Piece anime as a manga first reactor. Instead of going into this thing like it's the mystery of the unknown, where I literally don't know what happens in the next step, now I have kind of like this mental checklist of things I'm looking forward to. Finally, that puts me in lockstep with a lot of the viewers that are like, I don't want to talk about it, but there are some things coming up that I'm really looking forward to you reacting. Well, guess what? Me too. And so, without any further ado, let's get right into it. I can finally read these titles. I don't have to worry about them spoiling too much. That's great. Although I didn't read that. I was too busy telling you I could read it. Oh! No! That's a good idea. Nami's got all the good ideas. What a good brother. Hold on to this. It looks like nothing. I don't know what it is. But you know what? You told me to do it, I'm gonna do it. Good brother. Legitimately, I have missed this so much. Reading all these characters and reading their dialogue, there's some fantastic writing. But man, I am a sucker for just good comedic delivery, and that just gets me right there. I love this so much. And that is one thing that, as I have read thousands of pages now of manga under my belt and becoming more familiar with the medium as well, is just how much appreciation there is for both different mediums. When I get into the flow with reading manga, there's a kind of just natural pace that meets my reading speed. And so I was actually reading One Piece really fast. And so there's a lot of just little things that I probably either overlooked, just kind of sped past. The one thing that I noticed, especially in some of the later arcs, is Oda's style of writing is also just inherently fast. Like, things are just happening. Things are moving. Maybe some of that was also because I've been reading while like working out on a stationary bike, and that just also kind of infers movement and stuff. So it's been really nice to kind of take a passive seat and let the storytelling come to me in the anime sense, you know, where you really got to work for it. In the manga, a lot of those familiar elements that I got from the reading just kind of merged in this all-encompassing production, and it's magic. I really do think that both complement each other so well. It's so funny watching him now in this like very goofy kind of mode, even though he is later on, but my god, man, he brought out some emotions in me. I really have enjoyed Bunkley, like way more than I ever thought I would. There he is. Oh man. We will definitely talk about this later, about the visual clarity that the anime has, particularly in its fight scenes. That speed was like the perfect amount of humorous and just excitement.
ここから夢の街レインベースに向かうのよ。私たちが今まで顔も知らずにボスと呼んできた男がそこで待っている。
So the video that I put out right before this explaining the things that I'm looking forward to seeing in the anime reaction now that I've finished reading Alabasta in the manga is, of course, seeing the confrontation between Luffy and Crocodile. But I gotta say, part of the appeal for me for Crocodile as a character, besides just his visual design, is the voice. That just like holy bass, rumbly, gravelly voice is just so good, and I think that really adds to his character. So I'm also excited that we're about to go to Rain Base and meet with Boss Man. Dang, that's crazy.
オアシスの街じゃないのかよ、ビビちゃん。
砂で地層が上がったんだ。オアシスが飲み込まれてる。
旅の人かね。砂漠の旅は
Hmm.
疲れただろう。
この町には反乱軍がいると聞いてきたんですが。
反乱軍に何の用だね。貴様、まさか反乱軍に入りたいなんて言うんじゃあるまいな。
Where did those buckets and barrels come from?
あのバカどもならもうこの町にはいないぞ。物資の流通もなくなったこの町では反乱の持久戦もままならない。反乱軍はカトレアに本拠地を移したのだ。
カトレア？
Hmm.
ビビ、カトレアって近いのか？
No.
菜の花の隣にあるオアシス。
マツケは反乱軍の荷物をカトレアに運んでるところだったんだって。知るか。
ビビちゃんなのか、そうなのか、生きてたんだな。よかった。
おじさん。
そうさ。じゃあな、ビビちゃん。しばらくお別れだ。街が形になったら遊びにおいで。
タトおじさん。
They definitely set out with a dream there. It's sad to see like this entire country just devastated. You know, it's one thing to read it in the intro and then to actually have these characters go into these places and seeing the repercussions of these actions.
あの人は決して国を裏切るような人じゃない。そうだろう。
And that's probably the biggest crime perpetuated on the people is to lose faith in their king, who for all intents and purposes is a good king.
反乱なんてバカげてる。あのバカども。たかだか3年。雨が降らないからなんだ。私は国王様を信じてる。まだまだ国の大半はそうさ。
But I also see the other side of it too. Like with the rebels, I mean, they're pushed to extremes. They have to be. Their country is in crisis.
次の攻撃で決着をつける腹さ。死ぬ気なんだ。ビビちゃん、あのバカどもを止めてくれ。
トトおじさん、心配しないで。
That's also something I'm looking forward to finally seeing is just the million plus people and the whole scope of that final battle there.
すっげえ街作って俺たちがこの国をもっと潤してやるさ。じゃあなビビ、お前は立派な王女になれよ。
コーザ、他の町の連中とも連絡が取れた。
いよいよ出撃の時が来たな。この国は俺たちが守る。
I love this so much. We're setting everything up for the big finale. And I think I even mentioned this before we landed in Logtown, that I was noticing this pattern of definitely everything builds to that crescendo and then it calms down again and it sets everything in motion to build to the next one. And it's got this like ebb and flow, like waves crashing against the shore. And now that I've actually read several other sagas and seen the build up with that as well, I can attest that that actually rings true. But now the exciting thing is I always had, you know, a sense of it back then when I was just watching the anime, but now having read it too and really seeing myself in the middle, and following that trajectory and knowing where that climax leads, I actually feel a greater sense of excitement for what's to come. And with that, let's go ahead and get to our next episode, episode 104.
そうじゃなくて君の掘り返した砂が私の掘った穴に入るから私が穴を掘る意味が
He's so animated. I love it. I think what I realize is the expressions are so over the top, but what's fun about it is having a theater background. That's pretty much how you have to convey really any sense of anything when doing like a stage theater production. You don't gesture with your hand, you gesture with your whole body. And so seeing these just big explosive movements that are like a full body total commitment to the bit and to what you're saying just tickles that part of me, from like a nostalgic perspective, but also just from a like, yes, that is how they would do it. That's how you get your point across. And to see it just in this animated medium is so much fun. Good guy, Luffy. I missed this music. I didn't have this music when I was reading.
よく集まってくれたわね。人々がギャンブルで一攫千金を夢見る街。夢の街レインベース。最大のカジノ。レインディナーズへようこそ。だけどその前に紹介しなきゃね。あなたたちがまだ顔も知らない我が社のボス。
What's kind of interesting to me is having read Miss All Sunday's character into Nico Robin, and as she follows the crew, there's almost this forced authority in her voice, and it almost sounds like a strain. And I wonder if that softens when she moves into Nico Robin and being accepted into the crew. It's really interesting. Obviously, I haven't heard her when she's in that capacity later on, but just hearing her voice now, and maybe it's because like I've recently been watching like Lord of Mysteries with a friend, and the character Klein in there, he puts on this like authoritative voice even though he has no idea what he's doing, and it just kind of reminds me of that feigning authority kind of nuance in the expression of the voice. I might be reading way too much into it, so we'll definitely see. And that's the joy of discovery and watching it through the anime.
私たちは海賊の手下だったってわけなの？
あんたが俺たちのボスなのか？不服か？
俺が欲しいのは金じゃない、地位でもない。軍事力、順序よく話していこう。この俺の真の目的、そしてバロックワークス社最終作戦の全貌。
That's a cool transition. I like that.
バロックワークス社創設以来、お前らが遂行してきたすべての任務はこの作戦に通じていた。いよいよアラバスタ王国には消えてもらう時が来た。一夜にしてこの国はまさに我らのユートピアとなるわけだ。これがバロックワークス社最後にして最大のユートピア作戦。これは許されん。決行は明日の12時。
了解やん。
運を祈る。一人や二人くらいは消したんだろうな。
いや、それが。あちしあったわよ。こいつらならあちしここへ来る途中にあったわよ。こいつにこいつにこいつにこいつにこいつでしょ。
そうだ、俺の正体を知っている。野放しにしておけや作戦の邪魔になる。
あの一味とビビは私が今度こそこの手で仕留め。
黙れ間抜け野郎。がっかりさせてくれるぜ。
なんだやれ、干からびてく。
Ow! He bounced off his head.
なんとしても作戦前のビビと反乱軍の接触だけは避けにはならん。 王女ビビと海賊どもを決してカトレアへ入れるな。ビビとコーザーは絶対に合わしちゃならねえ。
やめた。
昨日来た道を戻ってカトレアって町で反乱軍を止めなきゃ、お前この国の100万の人間が激突してエレー事態になっちまうんだぞ。ビビちゃんのためだ。さあ行くぞ。
俺はクロコダイルをぶっ飛ばしてんだよ。反乱してる奴らを止めたらよ、クロコダイルは止まんのか。お前はこの戦いで誰も死ななきゃいいって思ってるんだ。国の奴らも俺たちもみんな七部会の海賊が相手でもう100万人も暴れ出してる戦いなのに、みんな無事ならいいと思ってんだ。アメンじゃねえのか。
何がいけないの？人が死ななきゃいいと思って何が悪いの？
人は死ぬぞ。
やめてよ、そんなこと言うの。今度言ったら許せないわ。それを止めようとしてるんじゃない。なぜ誰かが死ななきゃならないの？悪いのは全部クロコダイルなのに。
じゃあなんでお前は命かけてんだ。
I love this because it's a complete turnaround of when Vivi pretty much put the proverbial smackdown on Luffy back in Drum Island, rightly calling out his ability to captain. And here he is pretty much throwing it right back at her and her ability to, you know, strategize as a leader and trying to soft skirt the harsh reality. And here he is bringing her right back down to earth. Although I actually forgot he literally did it with his fist. So there's that. This is something that could just easily be missed if you're just soaking in story, but really having some time to just think about things as you go. I think it's easier to do when you're in a mindset of appreciating what's in front of you and what's going on around you. And I see that demonstrated so much by everybody in the comments as well. One of my favorite things is coming back to these videos after I've reacted to them and getting the fresh input from people in the comments, because you really do get a sense of people are really thinking about this beyond just, okay, I watched that episode, I enjoyed that episode, now it's the next episode. Part of the reason why it takes me so long is I really do try to, I try to take things from it and add it to me and have more than just a kind of consumer mindset, the artist's discerning eye, an eye of appreciation for the way the story flows, the way things build, the way things are presented, and you know, just a lot more than just the surface level. And so a moment like this really strikes me as quite exciting, the way it calls back and indeed builds on not just Luffy as a character, but also inferring the kind of leader that Vivi is likely to become, especially as a direct result of this confrontation here. That's so good. Well done. And the way nobody immediately gets it too, but they kind of do. Awesome. Yep. And that's one of those things I'm really looking forward to, is over the course of this saga, the multiple times that Luffy will face off against Crocodile, but especially that first one and the lesson that Luffy learns. You know, as we've moved along through the previous arcs, Luffy hasn't really met defeat. He has met setbacks, and so that's what makes me like super excited for this first confrontation. That's all the time we have for today. I'll see you in the next one. This is Noxidar out.
So hit that like button, subscribe if you dare.